Hi, this is Fee. Welcome to this week's version of our virtual town hall. I'm here virtually at Lehman Hot Springs, the source of the Springs Living and where it all started. Last week, we went into detail about how our hold the line strategy was working, combined with our detect and defeat strategy to hunt the virus and stop outbreaks and keep you safe. We also, in May, had our Grow Together strategy, where we connected you with Looking Glass and virtual tours. Well, we need to revisit that. The need to revisit that was emphasized to me and my family in the last couple of weeks when my Aunt Eileen, who lived in memory care at the Springs at Sherwood, passed. Her care was excellent and she passed in her sleep. But the problem is, none of us had seen her in 5 months. That's difficult to handle. It just re-emphasizes to me and all of our team how we've got to innovate, we've got to come up with other ways to connect you and to keep you connected with you and your families. There's a lot of life to live, even during this pandemic, and we're going to help do that safely. I want to introduce Brenda Connelly, who has just taken over the official role of our Chief Operating Officer. I'm very proud of Brenda. She deserves it. Brenda, welcome, and we look forward to hearing about the details of how we're going to continue to grow together.
Thanks, Fee. After 10 years with the Springs Living, I'm really excited to step into this new role and continue serving our residents and staff as we move forward and grow together.
You're going to do great, Brenda. I look forward to growing with you.
Thank you. The past 5 months have caused us to completely rethink our operations in our communities. Our frontline staff and community leadership teams have worked tirelessly to do everything possible to keep our community safe. We're happy to report that our most updated results continue to tell that story, in that only 1.3% of residents have tested positive, which is significantly less than the national average. As we've been evolving our protocols over the past few months, we've also been listening intently to each of you and your feedback on the effects of how this pandemic is impacting each of us. We know that isolating everyone is absolutely not the answer, and we have to balance safety with holistic wellness. Connecting residents with their loved ones is absolutely essential. The challenge we have in connecting everyone is that we're working within the confines of 2 different states' regulations. And based upon our experience in managing COVID-19, the trends in our data, outside expert guidance, as well as your feedback, we all agree that we need to advance to the next phase of our protocols, offering a greater opportunity to bring people together. I'm pleased to report that we're making some changes to our isolation periods and visitation. These are the top 2 areas that we've heard from all of you would be most impactful, and we believe we can do so safely. Residents will be able to go out with family, out to a restaurant or retail store without needing to isolate for multiple days upon returning to the community. There are a few higher risk scenarios, such as a visit to the ER or an admission to a hospital, that would require that isolation period still, as well as when someone new moves into the community, they would also need to isolate for that period of time. I'll leave a lot of these details to our written message, as well as to each community team to clarify. We also encourage small groups of 10 or less when going out, and please, please wear a mask, use social distancing. By doing these basic things, the risks are much lower and we can continue to keep our community safe. Second, the state of Oregon has provided a little more flexibility in defining what an essential visitor is for our communities. We know that isolation from family and friends can cause depression, loneliness, and it certainly impacts a person's holistic wellness and quality of life. And some of that causes changes to overall health status. We're going to begin to slowly allow 1 to 2 family members into the community as they meet the definition, that newly expanded definition of essential visitors. And this would be on a pre-scheduled basis. Visits will need to take place in each community's designated area, which might include the resident's apartment, in a courtyard area somewhere, but it must also include social distancing, and adhering to the personal protective equipment being worn and our pre-screening measures that also need to take place. The state of Montana has a little different definition, but we do encourage you to visit with each community's executive director to discuss the best route for visiting if your community is in that state as well. These are very, very difficult decisions, and those that we have not made lightly. Given the number of lives that we're responsible for, we realize that not everyone will be supportive of these changes. Each person has a different risk threshold, and within that, we have to decide what's right for each of us. And our commitment is to continually evaluate these current protocols and work to balance safety of our residents and staff and the need for holistic wellness and overall quality of life. If we do find that any of these incremental adjustments have an adverse effect, we might need to pull back. We're working on the next phase following this as well. We've heard from residents the desire to have a more expanded menu, as well as the ability to dine with some of the other residents who live in the communities right now. We see those adjustments happening at some point in the near future. I want to personally thank our incredible teams in the community, each making sacrifices and responsible decisions in their personal lives to keep the communities as safe as possible. I also want to thank our residents and family members for your continued patience and understanding and ongoing support as we all learn and grow together during this time. We look forward to continued success in managing this fight against COVID. We will get there with everyone working together. And now back to you, Fee.
Thanks, Brenda. That was great. Thanks for the information. And thank all of you for working with us to help keep our communities, the Springs Living communities, the very safest place to live. Thank you, and be well.